The Holy Man, Chapter 31, Covetousness. Daniel the Dancer was born in South America and was part Indian, part Spanish. As a young, high-spirited youth, he had come with friends on a lark to the hermitage, but then, moved by Joe's message, had stayed for a year. As time passed and he became a star, he returned often to the hermitage, but gradually wandered off the path Joe had set upon him. However, he was gifted in hiding his fall from grace from others. Now he stood at Joe's door with his uncannily perfect posture, his still beautiful face. Joe bid him enter, and he sat on the one chair, while Joe sat on the end of the bed, his hands on his knees. He told Joe he wanted to stay. Most of the other monks had come individually or together to tell Joe they wanted to spend the winter with him, and now Daniel had come to do so. "I must tell you, as I've told the others, that it is my winter to be alone," Joe said mildly. "Maybe you are not considering the dangers. I think I should be with you." "What about your dancing, Daniel?" "I am finished. I am too old now. Because you urged all of us to give most of our money away, I cannot return to my country a man of substance. I will not be respected if I don't have a fine house, a really big house. That matters in my country." He laughed. "In any country. Sad, but true. So I want to remain here with you." Who are these people whose respect you so badly want?" asked Joe wonderingly. "Just people. The man on the street. The men in the other fine houses. Women. I know it isn't right to feel that, but I do." "What about your friends? Isn't their respect more important than these anonymous hordes? I thought you didn't want to retire. You were going to teach. You're only 40. "I'm old, and I'm sore, and I'm tired." "Those feelings will pass. Ask yourself, which is the better of these two pictures 10 years from now? The first picture is you in a fine house in any country of your choice, entertaining people you don't care about, eating and drinking too much, getting further into debt, divorced from the dancer's art and the music you love. The second picture is of you at 50, passing on your knowledge to the young dancers who adore you and urge you every night to take supper with them, who come to you with their personal problems as well as their hopes and fears. Your apartment is small, but sitting in its chairs are people who want to be with you, Daniel, not strangers to make merry at your expense. And among your students is one boy or girl who you can already tell will be a great dancer as you were, greater than you, so that when you are 60 and 70, you can say to yourself with satisfaction and pleasure, 'I was his teacher.' The young dancers will talk amongst themselves and ask each other, 'If Daniel was so famous, he must have had piles of money. Why does he live so simply and work so hard for all of us?' And some old-timer will answer, 'Don't you know, he gave all his money to create scholarships for poor dancers.' 'Really?' they'll exclaim. 'That's fantastic.'" Joe sighed. This was the most talking he had done since the woman who was so scared to die had come. The holy chatterbox strikes again, he thought. "You are always telling us to go back into the world and do our work. I feel it is a finer thing to stay here and live as you do, to give it all up completely." Daniel didn't say that he didn't want to teach, that he really didn't like the young dancers, nor they him, although they admired him, or had until recently, when he began to fail and lose the luster of fame, take on the hated taint of a has-been, and he had not created the scholarships Joe had referred to, although at one time he'd honestly meant to. Instead, he'd made bad investments, throwing good money after bad, always thinking the scholarships could wait until he recouped his losses. But now he saw how he could still be a star for the rest of his life if he could be chosen as Joe's successor. Joe was at the end of his life. The one he had waited for had not come, or, if the rumors were true, had come and then gone. Daniel believed Joe had asked his 7 favorites there for the summer to choose from among them, and he felt he was the best choice. If nothing else, he looked the part, had a breathtaking, charismatic presence that Joe, in truth, sage though he was, didn't have at all. Yet Joe, knowing what Daniel was asking, was silent. "If you don't want me here," Daniel said humbly, "I will stay in the town for the winter. You will be able to call me if you need me. I will return to the hermitage in the spring to see that you are all right." Because there were no pictures of the holy man in the world, because Joe and the monks all dressed alike all equitably took their turns at going for supplies indistinguishable from each other. Daniel presumed the townspeople thought the holy man remained always in his mountain eyrie, ever unseen by any of them. Also, because most of the pilgrims were rushed through the house with head-spinning speed, Daniel believed that few in the world would question the identity of the holy man if it were changed. It briefly occurred to Daniel, flickered through his mind, that if Joe did not survive the winter, he could be on hand to discover the event and simply take his place as the holy man, with no one the wiser. He was scared by the audacity of the thought, and then, when Joe's eyes rested on his, Daniel felt more scared that Joe was reading his mind. His heart accelerated, and he flushed. Quickly he lowered his eyes as he stood to go. "I know all the townspeople," Joe said, almost aimlessly, looking idly out the window. "I played with them all as children. You would enjoy a winter in town, but no, you must go back to your work." "You are right, of course," Daniel hastily agreed, feeling he'd had a narrow escape from evil, or worse, from its discovery, if indeed he had escaped. Now Joe looked directly at Daniel, saying, "We are born, we suffer, we die. However, love is a possibility for us all, and for some few, there is also a big house." Daniel could not resist asking because he really wanted to know. Need they be mutually exclusive? Can't we have both love and house? Joe smiled. "Certainly, but one must consider carefully how one goes about getting the house."